And some people have said, oh, it's only in business. It's only if you are in trade or something. That's where that system works. And today we want to address that. We want to see how effective apprenticeship can be if you don't have a head for business and you're just the regular 9-to-5 guy, you know, who wants to just build their career in a professional setting. You want to, you know, not suit and tie for the whole of your career. There is a place in apprenticeship for you. Praise God. Our guest today, you know, when they dropped our profile on the group, Pastor Uche said something. He said, we get people for Estone Church. And that's true. We have people. Our guest today is the head regulatory affairs for Reckitt Sub-Saharan Africa. She's a pharmacist by training with over 20 years experience in sales, marketing, supply chain, quality, and regulatory affairs, and has a good overview of how the various functions of an organization impact its effectiveness, its performance, and its profitability. Our guest is married with 3 children. Please join me as we welcome Sister Ugo Amatokun. Please put your hands together. Welcome. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, praise God. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the program today. It's a pleasure to have you here. We have been talking about apprenticeship, and a popular notion about apprenticeship is it only applies in the informal world, in the trading sector per se, our traditional Igbo apprenticeship model. Is there a place for apprenticeship in the corporate setting?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I want to acknowledge, my crew, my clan, first of all, because I had to convince them to stay. My husband, my mother, my children, my cousins. I want to acknowledge them because I'm taking from their time and they really value their rest. And I want to acknowledge the leadership of the Friends Connect. Thank you for what you're doing so far in terms of mentoring and coaching, in career and in business. I know I've heard a lot of testimonies, and great job, basically. Okay, so with regards, does apprenticeship apply, in career? I think, first of all, the first thing to look at is what is apprenticeship. Then from there, we'll know if it does apply. So a simple definition, very simple one is just that apprenticeship is working for a fixed time. So working for a fixed time, for someone who has a particular skill, so that you can acquire that skill. So that's a simple definition of what it is. So there are some basic concepts. So it involves work. So that's the first thing, that I think I pick about apprenticeship, that it involves work. It's on hands-on, and is job-based, The second is that it's for a fixed time, so that opportunity probably might not exist forever. And even if you're in an organization, whoever you're working with that has a particular skill may not be with you forever in that same, people move around, and yourself, you may not want to be in that organization forever, so it's fixed. And then there is someone who has a particular skill, so that's the third concept. It has to do with the person, that has a particular skill, and then it has to do with you as well, that wants to acquire a particular skill, So these are some concepts that we would have to learn about apprenticeship. So across line, you will see that it applies, whether it's in learning skill, basic skills, in business or in career, it does apply, because one is that organizations have found that even in their learning models, they've said that it's either 70, 40, 10, 70, 30, 10, or 50, 40, 10, which means the upper one means that you learn by doing. So organizations believe that you learn basically by doing, and then secondly, the second category is that you learn by mentoring or by being coached, by being mentored or by being coached. The third one is that formal training, classroom training. So you see that apprenticeship, it really aligns, to what corporate organizations say, about gaining skills. So that's basically to answer your question. Yes, it does apply all around, whether it's in business or in career, it does apply.
Praise God. 3 points that you have to note. One is the fact that it involves work. It involves, it's time-based. So if you snooze, you lose. And then thirdly is the fact that it has to do with a particular skill set, the desire to acquire a skill set and identifying someone who has that skill set. So may we go a bit personal. What has been your own personal experience with apprenticeship in terms of how you've been able to rise? I see that you've moved in different departments through your career. Has apprenticeship helped in transitioning, from one part to the other?
Okay, so what I would say is at each point, it wasn't very obvious that it was an apprenticeship. So I had to work with various people, that, had already had the skills that I had. So yes, when in sales, I started my career basically in sales. So I had to learn, the ropes around presentation skills. Yeah, and I had people that were very good, and informally, it wasn't intentional that I had to pick those skills, but at the end of the day, I picked those skills, and today, they are helping me, and it was time-based because I don't have them. I don't work very closely with those people anymore. In terms of marketing, I also had to work with a particular group of people. I had to learn some skills that they used to survive in supply chain as well, and then quality and then regulatory affairs right now. So at each point in time, there are particular skills that I had to learn, and it was quite time-based because you can see I've had to move. And there are particular people that I can mention that, their lives have impacted me one way or the other. So yes, I have been able to pick, and I've had to learn other people, even though it wasn't very obvious that it was an apprenticeship.
Okay, so apprenticeship does not have to be a formal, or I'm coming to you to learn from you. It can just be based on the fact that you are working with this person and then you decide to do that, yeah?
Yes. It's nowadays, we are now more intentional. Young people are now more intentional because they are moving very fast. The Gen Z, we say that, my husband was telling me the other day, watch that guy very close that you are working with, because the way he's behaving, very soon now you see him in Canada. So, so in our own time, but when I basically started career, it wasn't very intentional but we went as, as open and as fast as this generation. So this generation, for them, of course, it's going to be more formal. Even though they may not communicate it to you, they may be trying to learn something from you, pick something from you, and move very fast. So I would say, in whatever stage you are, try to make it very, very intentional. Even though you don't have the opportunity to make it, to formalize it, but the person you're trying to learn with is not very stupid. He or she would know that there's something this person wants to pick from me. So that's what I would say.
Praise God. Hallelujah. Again, we need to also see that it's not always going to be formal in terms of your career growth. It's for you to identify. I remember when I joined my current organization, and there was my initial boss did not exactly want to engage me in things. So I actually went to meet someone who was working in that department to learn a few things, particularly about how we, the organization, used to do media, because when I came, it was a different culture entirely. So yeah, identify who you need to learn from, identify what you need to learn from them, and then devote your time, because again, like she said, people move a lot, and you may not have the luxury of having access to that person again. To add to that, you talked about wanting to learn from someone. Has there been any example in your own career of people learning from you where the element of access was abused, because from all I've gotten, access is very, very important if you are going to learn, if you are going to be an apprentice, whether it's in a formal or an informal setting.
Okay, the people that I recall, are people that have worked, they've come into the organization to work, and they of course had to learn, how our ways of doing things, basically. About abuse, it depends on your person, your temperament, for people to abuse for access to you. That's what I would say. Of course, okay. First of all, let me just give some work. Let me give some background to all this. So I would say, first of all, before someone comes into an apprenticeship, one of the first things you have to know for yourself is, for those who have come and have really succeeded, because I've had a few who have succeeded. Two come to my mind, and one, I call her Wando Wonder, to know how effective she was. It comes to mind. First of all, you need to determine your purpose for an apprenticeship. So that's one thing that will help you, because I was asked to talk about making your apprenticeship effective. So you need to determine, first of all, what is the purpose for this apprenticeship? Where am I coming into this apprenticeship? Where am I coming into this organization? Why this skill? There are so many skills right now. There's data analysis, there's business analysis, there's project management. This generation, I wonder, there's a name for everything. Some time ago, some of these skills didn't have names, but there are so many things. But first of all, you want to determine, why do I really want to learn this skill? So that's the first thing you want to decide, you want to be sure of. Secondly, you want to say, why this person? Why is it this person I want to learn this skill from? Or why is it this organization I've identified to learn this skill from? So that's another thing you want to identify. Then why now? Why do I want to learn this skill now? Why didn't I learn it 5 years ago? Or why don't I wait for 2 or 3 more years to learn it? So these are some things that you want to, what is the reason for learning this skill? So purpose is very, very important. Simon Sinek always says, this is a very popular psychology, he says, start with why. So starting with why will really help you to, how will I put it, will define, focus. So the next step is focus. So when you've decided, maybe God has spoken to you and said to you somehow, or impressed in your heart that this is the skill I want you to learn, the next thing is focus. Starting with why, defining purpose helps you to understand, to focus. Now I've decided that this is the person I want to learn from, this is the skill I want to learn, and this is when I want to learn it. So now I want to focus. So what is focus? Focus for me is being mindful about what you're doing. Focus for me is directed intention. So this is for me focus, So that's very, very important for you. Focus will help you to keep away from distraction. There's going to be a lot of distraction, because from the concept that we define, there are various factors that come in here. You have an organization, you have a person you want to learn from, you have a limited fixed time that you want to learn something. So being able to define focus to keep you from distraction, and mind you, distraction is not necessarily bad. Because people think that distractions are things that are bad. Sometimes distraction is not something that is bad in its own. It's just that it's misplaced. It's coming up at the wrong time. So that's something that you have to note, an early relationship can be a distraction. It's a good thing, God wants companionship for you, but a relationship, at the wrong time can be a distraction for you. So when we talk about distraction, it's not necessarily something that is bad. Because one of the things that trips us off as Christians is when we say distraction, we think it's something that is evil. Sometimes something that is innocently good can be a distraction for you, and that's why you need to define your focus very, very early. So that's very, very important for you. And defining your focus will keep you from tripping, because there are many things that are going to trip you off along the way. So the first one I bear in mind is one, why? Start with why, your purpose, what's your intention? Why do you want to enter into this apprenticeship? That's very, very important. Is it because all your friends are entering into this apprenticeship? Is it the popular thing for you? Does it really align with your purpose and your plan? God's purpose and plan for your life. So that's very important. 2 is focus. Defining your purpose will help you to focus. And 3, wait, I say, have I gone into 3? So the third one is now take ownership. You mentioned something about engage. You have to engage somebody. So taking ownership, it's your career. It's your business at the end of the day. It's your time. And you must be very, very mindful about it. It's you. It's your development. So you need to take ownership for it and not blame somebody else for it. That's very, very important. People that have worked with me and have really succeeded, like Wando, are people that have really taken ownership, for their own development, for their own engagement, for their own apprenticeship. So you need to take it, you need to engage with it. And then when I talk about being engaging, you may say, what does it mean to engage? It means being enthusiastic and passionate about what skill you want to learn and about that organization, and about the situations and the opportunities and about the tasks that you're giving is very, very important. So you must be very enthusiastic and passionate about it. Really, without passion, you can't really go very far. Without being very, very enthusiastic about something that you're doing, you really cannot go very, very far. You need to be very, very intentional, and you need to be an independent learner. If you're going to make the most of an apprenticeship, you have to be an independent learner. You can't be someone that is being pushed, to learn something. It's only when they give you a task that you engage, And even when they give you a task, you must have a positive approach towards that task. And that is how I moved from sales to marketing. I entered marketing. I was in sales for a while, and after a while, I was tired. I don't know, maybe my introvert nature just kicked in. I was just a bit tired of it, and I wanted something different. And at that time, we had entered a new organization, and people were coming in from outside the country, and they were looking for someone. I didn't know they were looking for someone to do marketing. I didn't know, but I just wanted to learn something new. So I was there. I was hands-on. The country manager would say, do this, I would do it. And I had nothing at the back of my mind. I just had a lot of energy. And I wanted to do something new. And he said, do this, I would do it. Do that, I would do it. All of a sudden, they asked. And he was with me. I was just there. And they said, who could possibly do marketing activities for us in Nigeria? And he just turned and said, she. So I was engaged. I was enthusiastic. I wanted to move, and I was engaged. So have a positive approach towards the tasks that you're being given. Be an independent learner. Don't be pushed to learn that thing, Do your pre-work. Do your homework. Do some extra work. Because when you do extra work in an apprenticeship, you know the right questions to ask. And it's very important. One concept or principle is asking the right questions. Is when you ask the right questions that you will get relevant answers. So when you do some pre-work, or when you do some extra work, when you're a bit proactive, and when you are an independent learner, you know the right questions to ask. This is what I don't understand in this thing. This is what I should ask that person. And it's very important, especially, we're going to come to temperaments after a while, especially for the kind of person that you are working with. Because some people can be very nurturing. They have all your time, they will sacrifice, but some people are very busy. They are very busy. Even when you don't give them work, they are busy. they cannot be idle. They must find something to do. Some people are very quiet, very calculative. They will do timetable for you, but some people are the life of the party. They are everywhere. They are in Labaja's office today. I have that marketing activity. I have that one. I have that one. I have that one. I have that one. I see one of them nodding at me right now. Praise God. So it's very, very important, for you to be an independent learner. You must know exactly what you want. So that's very, very important. And then the last, I hope I'm not going too fast, and I just want to make time for questions. I hope I'm not going too fast. No. I'm really a very fast communicator. So the last is, you must know the culture you're entering into. If it's an organization, try to understand the culture. Because mind you, there are a lot of unwritten rules. They might say this is our rules, but sometimes there are unspoken rules that you need to engage with, and you're very sensible, you will know. If you don't know, it's because you don't want to know. Most of the time people say I don't know because you don't want to know, but sometimes they are unwritten rules. So know the organization, know the culture. Is it a nurturing culture? Because some organizations have nurturing cultures. Some organizations have nurturing cultures for 2 weeks. After that, they are fast-paced. You are saying I'm learning, and then they say, what? This is your deliverable. What are you not answering? So you have to understand the kind of culture. Is it fast-paced? Is it nurturing? Is it, how will I put it? Is it, there's another word. Right now I can't remember. Then because it now involves the person. You're learning from a particular person. You need to understand the person you're learning from. Because that person is the constant. You are the variable. So you must be very, very adaptable to that person. It doesn't mean you should lose yourself. It just means that you have to have a bit of self-awareness. And that's another concept. Self-awareness is another concept on itself. It doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. It just means that you have to be a bit aware to be able to get along with this person. And that's something that Wando did very well. You know, she was very, very self-aware, you know, and because of that, she was able to achieve what she wanted to achieve. You know, that's very, very important. What else can I say? So it's very important to know the people you're working with. It's very important for you to know yourself. How do I learn? And how can I adapt to this environment? So that's why planning, you know, Jesus said in Luke chapter 14, is it verse 28, he said, which man is he that wants to enter war or you want to build something and you don't first of all sit down? So that's very important. Now the concept of self-awareness is becoming very, very popular. You know, if I was someone that used to come into a place and shout, now I will be more self-aware. You know, so I'll be more self-aware to say it doesn't happen that way. I can be read, but I must be able to be self-aware to know that my actions impact other people. So that's very, very important. So self-awareness is knowing how my actions impact me, how my actions impact other people, and how other people's actions impact me. So because an apprenticeship involves somebody else or another organization that you're trying to learn from, and you have to be very, very self-aware. So that's very important. So you must be able to put in place a plan. You know, if it's a boss that is very, very red, you know, I used that term when I was taking MBA, that basically temperaments are divided into 4, but we've moved away from that a lot. But we're not come here to talk basically about temperaments. Maybe that's something for another speaker would take. But basically you have the very red people, you have the very yellow people. The red people are choleric, they call them cholerics. You know, they're the busy people, they always find something to do, and they can be very angry for no reason, they can be very, very harsh for no reason, you know. But after all the harshness, they will just say, why did I do all that? What was all that for? You know, but they're very, very ambitious people, and that's why they're always very busy, because they're moving from one thing to the other very, very fast. Then you have the very yellow people. These are the people that are sanguine. They're the life of the party. They can talk, they can exaggerate, you know, they don't hold grudges most of the time because they don't have space for all of that, you know, because they don't like routine. So that's why it might be very, very difficult for you to get a sanguine to have a timetable for you or a schedule for you. So you must know how to handle that kind of person. That's very, very, and a choleric, when they give you a task, don't come and start speaking big, long English. Just hit it straightforward. What did I tell you to do? What did you do? What did you deliver? Yes, no. What is the next step? Bam. So then you have the blue people who are very melancholic. You know, these people, they talk. They're very systematic. They can even be very, very, they are overthinkers, so they can actually even go into depression very easily. But they are very, very analytical. They can even consider you and make a very good plan for you, you know. But the issue is how to deliver it to you. They can have a good plan for you, but how to deliver it. So you may have to prompt them about it, that this is what we said we would do. And right now, is it a good time? If you're not thinking about something else, is it a good time? You know how to manage them. Then you have people that are very flexed, very calm, very collected. They care about you more than they care about themselves, you know. So those ones, most of the time, you know, and they can mentor you. They have all your time. And they don't flare up easily, but you think they are very calm till the day that they have bottled up enough to be able to, you will never forget it in a lifetime. So I don't know if I've helped a bit. So
yes, that's quite a lot to unpack. I'm sure people are preparing their questions, but I wanted to ask this: Can I be someone's apprentice but from afar? So all of the scenarios you have painted now will speak to me having a relationship or being in the same space as this person. Can I be apprenticed from afar? Can I choose who I want to learn from, but I don't have to be in the same space with them? They may even be in a different industry, but maybe I've identified their career trajectory and I want to say, okay, this is the person I want to mentor me. How do I do that, if that's possible?
Well, I've heard it's possible, that mentoring from afar is possible. They talk about mentoring from books, you know. Of course, here you need to put a bit more of effort into it, getting that person's materials so that you can have that person's, how will I put it, know how that person's mind works. You know, I'm sure it's possible to be able to be apprenticed from afar. you know, it's no longer hands-on. And we know one of the things about apprenticeship is that it's work-based. You know, so we may probably not call it an apprenticeship, we may call it a mentorship. You know, but of course it's possible to be able to gain skills from someone, you know, by not having being in close proximity of that person. It's just that the person will not be able to oversee, or how will I put it, look at your work closely. Yeah, but definitely by looking at people's materials, reading their materials, but you need to do a lot of work, knowing the way their mind works, knowing the way their mind works basically can help you to acquire skills. Yeah, but an apprenticeship basically is very, very, that's the difference between apprenticeship and a mentorship. An apprenticeship is very hands-on, it's work-based. Sometimes, especially in the Western world, sometimes it's paid. You know, they pay you, you come into a system and you start to learn. It's like something that we call management, what they call them? Graduate employees or graduate trainees, management graduate trainees. That's like something like that. That's something like an apprenticeship.
Thank you. Please let's put our hands together for her. That has been quite. So do we have any questions? Questions, comments? Any questions?
Hello. Thank you so much, ma'am. This was very, very deep insight. My question, Mentor Solomon speak around it. Let's assume I'm working in a particular place, and the person I want to learn under, maybe my upline or manager, and seems not to have time to really attend to details, you know, and you cite another person around the same department, and you submit yourself to the person to learn from such person, and the other person is your own direct manager, or as case may be. So how do you see that? You know, because you ought to be reporting to him, and his own position also is to mentor you in that particular stuff. But because of you did not see that that ability or whatever in him, you abandon him and taking an apprenticeship or whatever from another person in that department. How the relationship of that manager and how do you see to that?
Okay, I think he already mentioned it from his own experience that he was working with somebody and then that person wasn't forthcoming in engaging him, and he had to seek from somebody help from somebody else, and that can work out. You know, in your setting, it may be if some people can be very touchy. That's something that you have to be very careful about. But it's a good arrangement. There's nothing wrong with that. You must know that it's your development. At the end of the day, you know, it's you are the one that your stakes. You're the one. How will I put it? It impacts you the most. So you must go out of your way to find a way of developing that skill. It depends on the kind of organization, because some organizations have those kind of arrangements in place where they already know that, you know, your learning can be hands-on on your job, what you're learning with your manager on the job. Your learning can also be from mentors and from coaches, and then your learning can be from classroom. So you can walk up to that. If it's accessible, if he or she is accessible, you can walk up to him or her and say, I'm working with this person. I see that you're very busy, you know, and I really want to learn this, and I would like to work with this person to learn it. I understand that I'm accountable to you completely, but this is something I really want to learn in depth. You know, I really would like to learn in depth, but since you don't have the time, you think I would like to, I'm working with this person, I'm engaging this person to do this, so that's to avoid any problems. I don't know how your organization is. You're the one who best knows. Maybe if that person doesn't really care who you engage, that's fine. That for me is the perfect situation where he doesn't care. But sometimes people can get very, very touchy. So it's good to open up to say, this is the reason why I'm engaging with this person on this, and work with that person, on that. But you must always, no matter what happens, remember that you have God, and and that He will move it wherever He wants to move it in. Pray, but make sure that you get the development that you need, because it's your time, it's your development, it's your future. So I don't really see anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and to add to that, again, that's part about understanding your organizational culture is key. The part I didn't say about that arrangement that I made was that my boss took an exception to it, and it took quite a bit of smoothing, at least for her to see that, look, this was done with best intentions in mind. It was done with my career progression in mind. It wasn't done to slight anybody. But yeah, very, very important to understand the organizational culture, especially since this apprenticeship we're talking about is within a certain context.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. It has been a very, very insightful one. I have a bit of two questions. So the first one is, as a career person, we basically have restricted time, especially the number of times we spend on the job and also commuting. So we spend a lot of times waking up very early in the morning and getting home very late in the night. And there are so many things that we can learn and we want to be apprenticed to. So I would like to ask, how can we be able to juggle our jobs, our 8 or 9 to 5 or 4 job, and still be able to learn the things that we want to learn? And then the second one is, Pastor always emphasizes that we do physical business. We should get engaged in physical business. And for one to, like for instance, I enrolled in HSAP, and I was learning how to do shoe, but it required a lot of physical presence, and I couldn't continue with it because of the time constraints. So how can one be able to manage the corporate work and also be able to do be engaged in apprenticeship in a physical business?
Okay. Yes, it's quite challenging, because many things are challenging, basically, because we don't have the infrastructure, bad roads. When you get home, there's no light. But it's everybody. But one of the things that really helps is to prioritize and to get a support system. So that's very good. That's very important. You must learn to get a support system. You must learn to utilize your support system, because you can have a support system and not use it. You must learn to prioritize. That's why I said from the very beginning, when you want to enter an apprenticeship, you must, how will I put it, determine the purpose and say, why now? So sometimes it's unreasonable to say you're going to learn something when you don't have the time to commit to learning it. So what you need to do is to plan to say, okay, I'm just getting into a new job. I put this on hold because I don't have the time. Once I am able to tie down, know my job properly, I'll be able to make out time for this. So that you don't pay. We have people that are paying a lot of money for different courses and they're never doing the courses because they never have the time. So that's very important to prioritize. And then you must have to stretch. It's not going to come to you on a platter of gold. So you must learn to do the extra work. Where you need to do the extra work, you must learn to do the extra work. So I always don't like to tell people, prioritize, leave some things, because sometimes they just think it will fall on their laps. Sometimes it will require a stretch. Sometimes it will require you dropping some things to gain some other things, and later on you pick up the other things. So about doing business, Pastor has his revelation about asking how we do business. He has his reasons, he has his revelation. Business may not be physical. It's simply about knowing about how to invest your money or use your resources. So that's very, very important. There are people that, they're not somehow involved physically in business, but their money is working for them. So it's basically learning how can I stretch whatever resources that I have right now to make sure I'm getting the most from it. So you may want to think about around that. So prioritizing, knowing if this is the right time for what you really want to do, using your support system, identifying and using your support system, sacrificing. You have to sacrifice. It's not going to be easy. You have to do a lot of sacrifice. And then, like I said, business is just about being physically present. It's really about investment. So if there's some investments, you may not be someone that is really into doing business, physical business, but you can be someone that is investing your money. Mutual funds, shares, even though they say a lot of things about shares, but whatever you're putting your money into, make sure that you're keeping a close eye on your money, that your money doesn't disappear. Getting into, business with somebody that is actively involved in the business that you really trust, that can give you something, some proceeds from the business, and you reinvesting it instead of just eating it, So these are some of the things. Buying land, good land. Not the one that will never appreciate, because there are places where you buy things that they will not appreciate. And that's the truth. So these are some of the things that I could say. So if you don't have the time, you must look at yourself as well. As your career progresses, you must look at the kind of job you're doing. Is this sustainable? Is this kind of work I'm doing, is it sustainable? You must always make time for your life. I've noticed very recently that you're working. The people that you're working for, you're not spending enough time with them. So you really must prioritize. Know when to work and know when not to work. It's very, very important. I hope I've helped.
Okay, Victor.
Okay, thank you, man. Praise God. So, first of all, I want to. You asked the question the other time. So, my own experience when I was in a particular department before, my boss used to be something that is very touchy, like you said. And I needed something. I needed a particular skill which I could not get from my department. So what I did was I looked inwards. I looked into my department. I looked for a problem. So I look for a problem I can solve with the skill I'm willing to learn. So what I sold to her was that this is the problem we have in this department, and this is the solution we need to solve this problem. However, we don't have the requisite skill to solve this problem. I am willing to volunteer for this particular unit that have this skill for me to learn from them, so that what I learn from them, I will come and use it in our department. And she did not even think it twice. She just bought into it straight. So that was my own, that was how I could scale through the touchy part and learning from somebody that is not my immediate boss. So my question now is that, let's say you work in a team of 7, and because you've been working for a long time, you're all friends, very close friends outside work. And for some reasons, you are moved to become their team leads, their boss, kind of. So, the reason why you are moved to become their boss is because you have some level of skills that they don't have, but you are friends, and there is a level of there's a level you can get to with your friend. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So how do you manage such scenario? You want to be a friend, and you want them to learn, and you want to also deliver on the job. I don't know if you get my question.
That's always a challenge. It's always a challenge. But first, you must own who you are. Because one of the biggest challenges that you will have is, the conflict between being a friend and being the boss. Choose being the boss. Because that's the only way you're going to make any progress. You must be empathetic. You must be empathetic. You must put yourself in their shoes. And that will help you to make good decisions. But you must choose to be the boss. Because that's the only way you can progress with your career, get the results, and help their own development. Do you understand? So of course, some of the things that you used to do with them, you no longer will be able to do it with them. Those chit chats, you can no longer. It doesn't mean you're not going to be friendly with them. You're going to be friendly with them, but as they would know that the position that you've taken, your position is that I'm involved, I'm responsible for some results, and I'm responsible for your development. And because of that, I would definitely need to put some measures in place. So I would advise you to choose to be the boss, but be empathetic. You may lose friendships along the way, but in the long run, when they've seen that all you're about is about their development and about their progress and about your results, at the end of the day, you will win those friends back, the reasonable friends. So that's what I would say to you. First of all, what are your objectives? From your boss, whoever has promoted you, what are your objectives? And then call them into a meeting and tell them, I'm responsible for this, I'm responsible for that, I'm responsible for this, and because I'm responsible for this is your responsibility, this is your responsibility, this is your responsibility. Do you understand? Make it very clear that I have set objectives, and the only way I can achieve that objective is by leading. If you don't make it clear, you will stumble. And if you stumble, you will not get another promotion. And you don't want to be at that level. And if you stumble, you will not help them to get their own promotions, which is another problem. Do you understand? So between being the friend, the chatty friend, and being the boss, choose to be the boss. Choose to lead. That's what I would say. I don't know if I've helped you in any way.
Thank you very, very much, ma. Any last words as we round up? Yeah, last word. All
right. So, I basically said what I need to say. I've said everything I need to say. But I always say that John Maxwell says that the only way you're going to be able to make progress or make change is, by being intentional. So whenever you have an opportunity to learn a skill, you meet someone you want to learn a skill from, you must learn to be adaptable, and you must learn to be intentional about it. Set out your goals, exactly what I want to do, be focused about it, and that will help you not to trip, per se, and then engage. So that's what the 3 steps I would really want to drop. Yeah.
Let's put our hands together and thank you very, very, very much, ma'am.